I always thought hard work and loyalty would pay off someday, until I opened that dusty file cabinet in my parents' house. It was a chilly Saturday in Boise, Idaho, and like every weekend, I'd driven over to my folks' place to help out. My mom, Pat, wasn't great with numbers, so I'd been handling their bills, taxes, and paperwork for years. Their cozy two-story house on Maple Drive, with its faded blue siding and creaky porch, was more than just their home. I'd poured my heart into it, paying for new windows, fixing the leaky roof, and even replacing the furnace when it died 2 winters ago. I wasn't rich. Being a financial analyst didn't exactly make me a millionaire, but I'd been the one keeping their world from falling apart, dollar by dollar, for nearly a decade. That day, Mom handed me a cardboard box stuffed with papers. "Sarah, can you sort this mess?" she asked, already halfway out the door to tend her rose bushes. I nodded, settled at the kitchen table, and started digging through receipts, old utility bills, and random junk. Then, tucked under a pile of expired warranties, I found it, a thick, official-looking envelope labeled life insurance policy. My stomach did a little flip, not because I was nosy, at least that's what I told myself, but because I'd always been the one to make sure their affairs were in order. I mean, who else was going to do it? My younger brother Ethan was 28, living off freelance gigs in Portland, and couldn't even remember to pay his own rent. I opened the envelope, expecting the usual boring legal stuff, but as I skimmed the pages, my eyes locked on the beneficiary section and my heart stopped. Everything. The $250,000 policy, the house worth $400,000, even Dad's old Chevy truck, was going to Ethan. My name? Barely a footnote in a vague line. "We love both our children." I blinked, rereading it, hoping I'd missed something, but there it was, in cold black ink. My hands shook as I gripped the paper. For 8 years, I'd worked overtime to cover their mortgage when Dad retired early. I'd driven across town at midnight to fix their water heater. I'd skipped vacations, missed friends' weddings, and put my own dreams on hold to keep that house standing. And now, it was like none of it mattered. Like I was just the hired help, not their daughter. I thought about every late-night call from Mom, panicking over a hospital bill, every time I'd Venmo's money for their groceries, every weekend I'd spent painting their fence or unclogging their gutters. All of it, erased by a single page that said Ethan, the guy who'd crashed 2 cars and still asked Mom for gas money, deserved everything. My chest tightened and I felt a lump in my throat, but I didn't cry. Not yet. I heard Mom's footsteps coming back inside, her gardening gloves still on. "Sarah, you find that cable bill?" she called. Cheerful as ever, I stood up, the policy still in my hand, and turned to face her. My voice came out steady, colder than I expected. "Mom, what is this?" Her smile faded as she saw the envelope. "Oh, honey, it's just paperwork," she stammered, avoiding my eyes. I held it up, my fingers trembling. "Paperwork that gives Ethan everything? After all I've done?" She froze, and for the first time I saw something like guilt flicker across her face. But it wasn't enough, not nearly enough. I set the policy on the table, my heart pounding. I'd always believed family came first. I was wrong, and that truth hit me harder than anything I'd ever felt. I stood there in the kitchen, the life insurance policy still on the table, staring at Mom as she fumbled for words. The air felt thick, like the moment before a storm. "Sarah, it's not what you think," Pat said, her voice shaky, her gardening gloves twisting in her hands. "Ethan, he's still finding his way. We just wanted to make sure he's okay." I felt my jaw tighten. "Okay?" I repeated, my voice low but sharp. "Mom, I've been paying your mortgage for years. I fixed the roof. I handled Dad's medical bills. And you're telling me Ethan needs this more?" She looked away, her eyes darting to the floor, like she could avoid the truth if she didn't meet my gaze. That's when Dad walked in, his old Boise State mug in hand. Bob had this way of acting like everything was no big deal, like he could just sigh and make problems disappear. "Sarah, don't make a mountain out of this," he said, setting the mug down. "You're doing fine. You've got a good job, a steady life. Ethan's still figuring things out." I let out a dry laugh, the kind that hurts more than it helps. Figuring things out? Dad, he's 28. He's been figuring things out since he dropped out of college. I'm the one who's kept this house from falling apart. My voice cracked, but I didn't stop. I've given up my savings, my time, my dreams, and you both wrote me off like I don't exist. Mom stepped closer, reaching for my arm, but I pulled back. Honey, we didn't mean it like that, she said, her eyes watery. We just thought, you're so strong, Sarah. Strong. That word hit me like a slap. All these years, they leaned on me because I was strong, but never once thought I might need something in return. Not money, not the house, just a shred of respect. I looked at them. Mom's pleading face, Dad's calm shrug, and something inside me shifted. I'm done, I said, my voice steady now, like I was reading a verdict. I'm not paying another bill, not fixing another pipe, not bailing you out. You made your choice. Dad's eyebrows shot up. Sarah, you don't mean that. We're family. But I was already grabbing my coat from the chair. Family doesn't erase the one who's been holding them up, I said, heading for the door. Mom called after me. Sarah, please, let's talk about this. But I didn't turn back. The cold Idaho air hit my face as I stepped outside, my breath visible in the November chill. I climbed into my car, my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I didn't cry, though I felt like I might. Instead, a strange calm settled over me, like I'd finally dropped a weight I'd been carrying too long. I drove away from that house, the one I'd poured my life into, knowing I wasn't coming back. Not this time. For the first time in years, I felt like I was choosing me. 2 weeks after I walked out of my parents' house, the silence was deafening. I'd expected Mom or Dad to call, maybe even apologize, but my phone stayed quiet. I tried to focus on work, crunching numbers at my desk in Boise, but my mind kept drifting back to that insurance policy and the way they'd brushed me off. I wasn't just hurt, I was angry, the kind of anger that simmers and makes your chest feel tight. Then, one evening, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Dad. Sarah, the electric bill's due Friday. Can you cover it? $180. No mention of the fight, no how are you, just a demand like I was their personal ATM. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to type back something sharp, but I just set the phone down and let the message sit unanswered. The next day, Mom texted, Sarah, the water bill's late, $95. Can you send it? Again, no acknowledgement of what happened, like I'd never poured my heart out in their kitchen. I didn't respond. By the weekend, Ethan joined in, sending a long, whining message. Sis, why are you ghosting us? The house insurance is due, and Mom's freaking out. You've always handled this stuff. What's your deal? I laughed, but it was bitter, hollow. My deal? I'd given them everything. Years of my life, thousands of dollars, countless sleepless nights, and they still expected me to jump when they snapped their fingers. I typed back, Figure it out, Ethan. I'm done. His reply came fast. Wow, selfish much? You're gonna let Mom and Dad lose the house? That word, selfish, cut deep, but not because I believed it. It hurt because it showed how little they valued me. I was done arguing, so I muted his texts and tried to move on. But then a coworker, Lisa, pulled me aside at lunch on Monday. Sarah, you okay? I saw something weird on Facebook. My stomach dropped. I hadn't checked social media in days, but I opened the app and there it was. A post from Mom, tagged public, with a picture of their house on Maple Drive. It breaks my heart when your own child turns their back on family, leaving aging parents to struggle alone after all we've done. Over 50 likes, 20 shares, and a flood of comments like, how could she do that? And praying for you, Pat. I scrolled further and found Dad's post. We raised Sarah to care about family, but she's walked away when we need her most. The house might go under, and she doesn't care. Ethan's was the worst, a snarky jab. Some people act like they're perfect, but when you ask for help, they're nowhere. Guess that's family these days. My hands shook as I read it. They weren't just ignoring me. They were painting me as the villain to anyone who'd listen. Strangers were judging me. People who'd never seen the receipts for the $2,000 I'd paid for their new siding, or the nights I'd driven through snow to get Dad's prescriptions. I wanted to scream, to call them out right then, but I didn't. Not yet. I closed the app and sat in my car during lunch, staring out at the gray Idaho sky. Their words stung, but they also lit a fire in me. They thought they could guilt me back into line, like they always had. But this time, they'd gone too far. I wasn't the quiet, dutiful daughter anymore, the one who'd fix their messes and take the blame. I started screenshots of their posts, saving them alongside years of Venmo transactions and bill receipts I'd kept. If they wanted to play this game in public, I'd be ready. Not to hurt them, but to show the truth. For the first time, I felt a spark of something new. Not just anger, but power. I wasn't going to let them rewrite my story. I couldn't sleep that night, my mind racing with Mom's Facebook post, Dad's vague guilt trip, and Ethan's snarky jab calling me out to the world. Their words kept looping in my head, painting me as the heartless daughter who'd abandoned her family. By morning, I'd had enough. I wasn't going to let them twist the truth anymore. Sitting at my kitchen table in Boise with a cold cup of coffee in hand, I opened my laptop and started gathering everything I'd saved. Screenshots of their posts, years of Venmo payments for their bills, receipts for the roof repairs, even the scanned life insurance policy that left me out. I wasn't just angry. I was done being invisible. I opened Instagram, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I hadn't posted in months, but this wasn't about likes or attention. It was about setting the record straight. I uploaded the insurance policy first, highlighting Ethan's name as the sole beneficiary. Then came the receipts. $1,500 for the furnace, $800 for the water heater, $2,000 for the siding. I added screenshots of their texts, like Dad's casual, "Can you cover the electric bill?" sent days after our fight. My caption was simple, but every word felt like a weight lifting off my chest. My family's been telling one side of the story. Here's the truth. For years, I paid their bills, fixed their house, and kept things together. But when I found out I was written out of their future, I stopped. I'm not selfish. I'm just done being used. I hit post and closed my laptop, my heart pounding. Within an hour, my phone started buzzing. Friends from high school, coworkers, even my old college roommate commented, "Sarah, I had no idea you did all this. And you don't deserve this." A few strangers messaged too, saying they'd been through the same thing with their families. By evening, the post had over 200 likes and dozens of shares. I didn't feel smug. I felt free. The next day, I checked Facebook. Mom's post was gone, Dad's too. Ethan had switched his profile picture to some generic sunset, his usual move when he wanted to dodge drama. They'd gone quiet, and for the first time, I knew they'd seen me. Not the strong daughter they could lean on, but the one who'd finally drawn a line. I wasn't stopping there. I called the bank and removed my name from the joint account tied to their mortgage. I contacted the utility companies and canceled the auto payments I'd set up years ago. I even deleted the bill reminders from my phone, each tap feeling like a small victory. By the end of the week, I sat in my apartment, the silence around me different now. Not heavy, but peaceful. I wasn't carrying their burdens anymore. Lisa, my coworker, texted me, "Saw your post, Sarah. You're a rock star." I smiled, something I hadn't done in weeks. I didn't need the whole world to cheer me on, but knowing people saw the truth, my truth, gave me strength. I'd spent years being the glue for my family, only to be erased. Now I was writing my own story, one where I wasn't the fallback plan or the fixer. I looked out my window at the Boise skyline, the city lights soft against the dusk, and felt something new. Pride. Not in hurting them, but in choosing me. A month after my Instagram post, life felt different, like I'd finally stepped out of a shadow. I wasn't checking my phone every hour, waiting for Mom, Dad, or Ethan to reach out with another demand or half-hearted apology. I'd stopped carrying their weight, and for the first time in years, I could breathe. But while I was finding my footing, things back at the house on Maple Drive were falling apart. One Tuesday, I got a call from Mrs. Eleanor Davis, the sweet old neighbor who'd lived next door to my parents forever. "Sarah, honey," she said, her voice soft but worried, "I don't mean to pry, but your mom doesn't look good. Pat's been out in the yard less, and I saw a notice from the bank on their door. something about late payments. I thanked her, my stomach twisting a little. Part of me wanted to drive over to check if they were okay, but I stopped myself. I'd spent years playing the hero, and it only got me erased from their future. A week later, Eleanor called again. "Ethan's moved back in," she said. "I see him hauling groceries, but he looks lost. Your dad's been talking about selling the house. It's a mess, Sarah." I pictured Ethan, who couldn't even balance his own checkbook, trying to manage a $400,000 house and my parents' bills. The image didn't make me smile. It just made me tired. I'd warned them, but they'd chosen to lean on him instead of facing the truth. Meanwhile, I was building something new. I signed up for a painting class at the Boise Art Museum, something I'd always wanted to try but never had time for, because my money and energy went to their mortgage or Dad's doctor visits. I started going to a local book club, where I met people who didn't know me as the one who fixes everything. We'd sit in a cozy coffee shop talking about novels over lattes, and I'd laugh, really laugh, for the first time in ages. I opened a savings account just for me, not for their emergencies, and watched the balance grow, bit by bit. I even started looking at condos downtown, dreaming of a place that was mine, not tied to anyone else's choices. One night, I got a text from an old friend, Mark, who worked in real estate. "Sarah, saw your parents' house listed online. $390,000, but it's in rough shape. No offers yet. You doing okay?" I pulled up the listing on my laptop. The photos showed peeling paint, a sagging porch, and the same creaky fence I'd patched up 3 summers ago. The house I'd kept standing was crumbling, just like I'd predicted. I didn't feel vindicated, just detached. It wasn't my problem anymore. I replied to Mark, "I'm good, thanks for checking," and I meant it. I wasn't the one scrambling to call the bank or fix the wiring at midnight. Ethan was there now, and he'd have to figure it out. Or not. I kept moving forward. I bought a new easel for my paintings, started jogging along the Boise River greenbelt, and even treated myself to a fancy dinner at my favorite Italian place, something I'd always skip to save money for their bills. One evening, as I was sketching in my apartment, my phone lit up with an email from the book club organizer. They were starting a community outreach program, helping low-income families with budgeting skills. "You'd be great at this, Sarah," she wrote. I stared at the message, my pencil still in hand. All those years of managing my parents' finances, stressing over their late payments, had taught me something valuable. I could use it to help others, not out of duty, but because I wanted to. I signed up the next day. As I looked around my small, quiet apartment with my half-finished canvas and a warm mug of tea, I felt something settle inside me. Not anger, not guilt, but peace. I wasn't the daughter who'd been written off anymore. I was Sarah, building a life that felt like mine. The house on Maple Drive might fall, but I was standing taller than ever, and no one could take that away. The crisp Boise air felt sharper that fall, like it was carrying a promise of change. I'd settled into my new life, painting classes, book club, volunteering, feeling lighter than I ever had. The house on Maple Drive, with its peeling paint and unpaid bills, was no longer my burden. I'd stopped checking for texts from Mom, Dad, or Ethan, and the quiet was a relief, not a weight. But one gray afternoon, as I was leaving my office, I saw a familiar figure leaning against my car in the parking lot. Ethan, in a wrinkled hoodie, his hands stuffed in his pockets, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "Sarah, I need to talk," he said, his voice low, almost desperate. I crossed my arms, keeping my distance. "What do you want, Ethan?" He shifted, glancing at the ground. "The bank's going to take the house. They sent a foreclosure notice. I don't know what to do. Can you just help? One payment, that's all." His words hung in the air, and for a split second, I saw the kid brother I used to drive to soccer practice, the one I'd bailed out when he overdrew his bank account. But that feeling faded fast. "Ethan," I said, my voice calm but firm, "I've been paying for that house for years. The mortgage, the repairs, the utilities. I gave up everything to keep it standing, and you all wrote me out of it. Why should I fix this now?" His face twisted like he was searching for a comeback. I didn't know it was that bad, okay? Mom and Dad said it was under control. I thought—" He trailed off and I shook my head. "You thought I'd always be there to clean up the mess, but I'm not your safety net anymore." I stepped past him, unlocking my car. "You're the one they chose, Ethan. Figure it out." He didn't follow me, just stood there as I drove away, his silhouette shrinking in my rearview mirror. A week later, I got an email from Mom. The subject line was blank, but her words spilled out like she'd written them in a rush. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. We never meant to hurt you. The house is slipping away, and I don't know how to fix it. I miss you. Can we talk?" I read it twice, my finger hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to believe her, to think we could rebuild something, but I remembered her silence after I found the insurance policy, the way she'd let me carry their world without a thank you. I closed the email and didn't write back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I wasn't ready to open that door again. Instead, I threw myself into my new life. My painting class was wrapping up, and I'd started framing my work, even selling a small piece at a local art fair. The book club had become my second home, where I'd laugh over bad plot twists and sip hot chocolate with people who saw me for me, not for what I could do for them. But the real shift came with volunteering. I joined the community outreach program teaching budgeting skills to single moms and young couples. One evening, as I helped a woman map out her grocery expenses, she grabbed my hand and said, "You're changing my life, Sarah." I smiled, my throat tight. All those years of managing my parents' finances, stressing over their late bills, had turned into something good. Not for them, but for strangers who needed it. That night, I got home and stood in front of my bathroom mirror, my reflection lit by the soft glow of a single bulb. I looked different. Not older, but stronger, like I'd finally claimed the space I'd given away for so long. I thought about Ethan's plea, Mom's email, the house teetering on the edge. I didn't feel guilty, and that surprised me. I'd spent years thinking family was about sacrifice, about giving until you had nothing left. But now I know better. Family was about respect, about seeing each other as equals, not as tools. I'd given them everything, and they'd taken it for granted. I wasn't the villain for walking away. I was the one who'd survived. A few days later, I got a text from Mark, my realtor friend. House on Maple sold. $350,000, way below asking. Your parents moved to a rental. Ethan's with them. I set my phone down, picturing the house I'd patched together, now someone else's problem. I didn't feel sad or smug, just done. I grabbed my sketchbook, flipped to a blank page, and started drawing. A simple outline of a woman standing tall, her face turned toward the sun. That was me now, not the daughter who'd been erased, but the woman who'd chosen herself. And as I sketched, I knew I'd never go back. As I finished that sketch, the woman in my drawing seemed to glow with a quiet strength I'd only just found in myself. The house on Maple Drive was gone, along with the weight of being my family's fixer. I'd learned that love isn't about how much you give, but about mutual respect and gratitude. Family doesn't mean sacrificing your dreams to prop others up. It means being seen and valued for who you are. Walking away from Mom, Dad, and Ethan wasn't easy, but it taught me to set boundaries and choose myself without guilt. Now, every painting I create, every budgeting class I teach, feels like a step toward a life that's truly mine. You don't have to stay in a cycle that dims your light. You can say no, walk away, and still build something beautiful. My journey showed me that real strength comes from knowing your worth, even when it means standing alone. If my story resonates with you, hit that subscribe button and join our channel for more heartfelt stories about finding your voice and breaking free. Don't miss out. Let's grow together through lessons that change lives.